Hi, Basket Case here. I've been going around row 3 and I'm running out of thread, so we're going to change threads. You see I have my clip on my stitch. I might call it a stitch clip or a row clip. My guide is nice and snug. And I do the top half of my stitch. Previously I talked about when you go from front to back, that's the top. When you come from the back to the front, that's the bottom of the stitch. I'm going to come around to the next stitch, back to front, left to right, and I'm going to snug this stitch down. I'm not going to go back over because I'm going to sew out to end this thread, and then I'm going to sew in with a new thread. So I did the bottom half of my stitch. I'm going to go, this is row 2, we're working on row 3. I'm going to go between the rows to the back of my piece. I have now come around the leg of this stitch, and I want to go all the way around it and push my needle right down the middle of the pine needles and go through them. And then I'll use my pliers. This is how I'm anchoring my thread before I trim it. And you can see I made a little knot there. When I trim, I hold my scissors flat because I don't want to go this way and cut any of my stitches. I only want to cut this thread. Just trim that off. And then I've got 1.5 yards of thread on my needle again. The bottom half of that stitch I just did, I'm going to do it exactly again. I'm going to follow that same path right through the bottom half, back to front, because I can't do the top half without the bottom half. I'm going to leave a tail of about 6 inches here, and then I'm going to turn this over and put my sewing needle down here with my thread, take a second needle, and thread this tail. I'm going to go around the leg of this stitch and make another knot because I want to anchor the tail as well. And I can push it down this row here. Just get the angle that works for you. It pops out over here. Pull that through. And I've made another little knot. So now, again, pull up straight up on the thread, put your scissors flat, and trim that tail off. Now I've anchored the thread that I was using, and I've anchored my new thread. And those knots will disappear in between the rows. Back to front, left to right. Get my tools out of the way here. Keep my stitches nice and tight. You can see this really pretty spiral stitch coming out. Back to front, left to right. Keep your stitches nice and tight. Again, I'm going to bend this. And I want to show you something here. This is the end of a pine needle, the pointy end. You can just snap those off. You don't want those poking you while you're stitching. Back to front, left to right. Keep my stitches nice and tight. We're going to finish this row. We have 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7 stitches, and then we'll get into starting to shape the basket. Back to front, left to right. Make my stitches nice and tight. Again, I am pressing down. You can see these rows are trying to push up and shape because when you hold the basket, your hand is naturally making that curve a little bit. I'm checking my row guide here. It's loose. I'm going to spread these needles right in half. Hold this close to the end and push that in the middle. And I'm going to do that again. And then check my row guide. It's more snug. It's still a tiny bit loose, but again, I don't want to add too many needles all over the same stitch because you end up with these lumps in your rows. So I'll go ahead and do another stitch. Back to front, left to right. Keep your stitches nice and tight. I have 3 more, and then I'm going to start row 4, and that's going to start shaping the basket. I will continue to consistently add pine needles to my row guide. Oops. Holding it close to the cut end, parting those stitches. Now it's nice and snug. Back to front, left to right. Make my stitches nice and tight. I change stitches at the end of a row, and I change shapes at the end of a row. It gives me consistent rows. If I change stitches halfway through row 3, and half of that row has 3 stitches, and then the next part of it has 4 stitches because I've gone up too soon, the pattern isn't really going to look that nice. Also, I change colors and stitches at the end of rows. It adds consistency. So I'm at the end of row 3. I have 3 stitches here and 3 stitches here. I'm going to start shaping the basket, and I want to make sure that my guide is nice and snug. And you can make a shape of a basket go gradually out. You can make it come straight up. There's so many lovely shapes to baskets, and I really recommend going online. There are wonderful, wonderful pine needle basket weavers all around, and I often look at pictures and techniques to get inspired. And I love that people share. Okay, so now I'm going to continue the same stitch. You can see by this sample here that now I'm going up and building a bit of a wall, but that stitch is continuing. What I tell myself in my mind is now this is like a piece of clay, and I can mold it the way I want. I could put it right on top of this row and make a straight wall. We're going to taper it out a little and then come up. So when I put this next stitch in, see how I'm pushing that row over? I'm still going back to front, left to right. But I'm placing this, I'm pulling it up just a little. It's overlapping row 3, just a little bit. And I'm going to hold it to that shape. I'm not going to press it out flat anymore because I want it to come up and have a shape. Back to front, left to right. Keep your stitches nice and tight. And this time I'm going to set it down, but I'm going to pull that up rather than pressing it flat. And you can see that it's starting to shape a little wall on this basket. Back to front. I went through the thread a little bit, left to right. Keep your stitches nice and tight. And you see I'm shaping this. I want this, I don't want to start pulling it over too far. I want it to be just a little bit over the whole row. And then the next row, it will go a little bit over again and we'll start to shape that wall. Okay, I'm going to show you one more. Back to front, left to right. Keep your stitches nice and tight. And I'm setting it down. I'm not pressing this out flat. I'm instead pulling it up to build a little bit of a wall. All right, I'm going to put my clip on, and then I will continue going around until we're ready to go to the next row, and we'll start stacking these rows on top of each other. And we will do probably 2 or 3 more rows to go up, and then we'll start with the Mariposa row, which is the wrapped row with the beads. Okay, see ya.